I have with me Minister for Communications and Development of Northeastern Region, Shri Jyotiraditya Scindia. Sir, many thanks for speaking to
Thank you
PTI.
for inviting me. Thank you.
So, US President Trump imposed steep tariffs on India, and these were paused, of course. They are on a pause right now. Without getting into the negotiations between India and the US, I want to ask you a broader question. Some see tariffs as an opportunity for India to capture market. What is your reading of how India can benefit, particularly in sectors like telecom?
So I'm going to take a different tack in terms of answering this question. I think you have to understand where we stand as an economy. India has progressed under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi from being the 11th largest economy in the world to today the 5th largest economy in the world. That means that there has been a monumental change in the way that India has transformed itself from an infrastructure standpoint, from a exporting nation standpoint. And therefore, today, India stands very tall in the firmament of nations. We're today going to become the third largest economy by 2028. We're today at almost a $4 trillion economy, $5 trillion by 2028, close to $6 trillion by 2030. And in that environment, the key fundamental that separates us from our competitors is that India presents herself with a huge domestic market in addition to being a large exporting market based on her economies of scale by servicing her domestic market as well. Which is why today you're seeing a large number of multinational companies also basing themselves in India. From a country that used to import close to about 80% of her requirement of mobile phones and would produce only 5 crore mobile phones. Today, India is producing over 35 to 40 crore mobile phones. Our exports are above 1,75,000 crores purely on mobiles. So I do believe that irrespective of the prevailing environment of tariffs, India will continue to be competitive because she has economies of scale behind her, because innovation comes along with that economies of scale to be able to cater to such a large market. And therefore, even in comparison with other nations, she will remain to be competitive. Point one. Point two, the whole question of tariffs have to be looked at on a comparative and a comparative matrix point of view. So if you're a country that I used to compete with, and the tariffs that have been put on you are possibly today double of what mine are, where I used to be uncompetitive vis-a-vis you, I now become competitive. So I think it's important to look at it not only from purely a India-centric point of view, but from a comparative matrix point of view. And there are going to be many products in many areas where India will emerge fiercely and much more competitive than she used to be prior to the tariffs being in place.
Fair point, sir. As a Minister of Communications and Donor, and also in the past having held multiple portfolios like aviation, power, commerce, what significance do you attach to the visit of J.D. Vance, the first high-level visit since Trump took over his office in January?
So I think the Vice President of the United States coming to India is a very welcome and a very important step. I think it takes that level of dialogue and communication one step further. Our Prime Minister recently visited the United States, met with President Trump, met with Vice President J.D. Vance, and I think this will go further in terms of taking forward our dialogues, not only in terms of our trade talks and other issues, but also in terms of investment, also in terms of cooperation on many other fronts, be it defense, be it information technology, be it biotech, be it innovation, be it AI, across the board. I think India and the US are the world's largest and the world's oldest democracy. They both present tremendous markets. We also have a huge added very important form of ambassadorships, and that is our Pravasi Bharatiya, who are based in the US. And they have created a tremendous amount of goodwill for Bharat in the United States of America. And I think both these countries coming closer together, working closer together, is at the end of the day in the interest of the world.
Many, in fact, helming large global US
Yes,
headquarter,
absolutely.
big digital giants as well.
Absolutely. So, in the political space, in the business space, even in the social sector space, and even in the space with Sunita Williams.
Well said, sir. Elon Musk, talking of space, Elon Musk has said that he will visit India later this year. What engagements do you see Musk doing in India? And what do you think issues of SATCOM pricing will be resolved or reach some sort of a finality before that?
So, I think that his visit here will be uh, uh, in his form of heading Dodge as well as his multiple business enterprises. And I think India is a great market for, on the one hand, strengthening US India relations, on the other, for any entrepreneur and any business enterprise to further and deepen their integration into the global market. From a telecoms perspective, we welcome all players into the market. I've mentioned this in Parliament during question hour, that I'm company agnostic and I'm customer centric, and it is my job to provide choice to my customers, and I would want more and more satellite companies to operate in India, because at the end of the day, through Satcom, you are able to connect the last mile of customers that are not being able to be reached through traditional RAN or core networks, or through OFC, or through broadband, fixed or mobile. So therefore, I think it's an imperative for India. We've given out 2 licenses as we speak, to Airtel and to Jio. I would like more companies to come and participate in the Indian market, and therefore every company is welcome in India.
How would you look to balance these imperatives that you mentioned? And of course, Quake also has shown that SATCOM services can be the lifeline, in case of natural disasters. How will government look to balance the regulatory and security considerations with the connectivity goals that you mentioned?
That's already done. That's a done deal. Our pro forma has very clear deliverables that take care of, on the one hand, customers and provision of services, on the other hand, security issues. And I'm very confident that you will have multiple players in India uh, in the near future in the satellite business.
So we saw telcos initially bitterly opposing their entry and then surprisingly teaming up with Starlink. How did you read that development?
Well, that's a question that you need to ask them, because my stand was exactly the same prior to their opposition and post their acquiescence to this technology. As I mentioned, I'm technology agnostic. Technology evolves very rapidly in the world. What used to take decades now take days. And that's the pace of innovation that humankind has evolved, and we must adapt to that. Um, I remember the words of a professor that I was taught by at Stanford. He was the one of the founders of Intel, Andy Grove, and he said 2 things to me which stay with me ever since. He said, number one, the only constant in the world is change, and second, he said, only the paranoid survive. So both are very, very important statements. And I think technology is ever changing and you need to adapt to that. I'm glad that our telcos are now in line with ensuring that every customer and every consumer gets access. And this is another form of access.
Intel, incidentally, also now has a Indian origin CTO and AI head.
Yes.
So, MTNL sir has defaulted on loan payments. How do you see the situation being resolved?
So MTNL now is the is in has a large amount of asset base in terms of its land bank. We are today progressing on that, and through NLMC, National Land Monetization Committee, that land will be divested, and through the proceeds of that land, all dues to banks and debt will be taken care of.
How long would this take? What are the timelines?
That is a NLMC is under DPM and the Finance Ministry. I'm pursuing with them. As soon as that's done, that will be taken care of.
BSNL has been a wonderful turnaround story, and you have yourself steered that company towards that turnaround. How do you plan for BSNL to sustain this growth, and to ensure that it doesn't slip and fall behind the others again? And do you foresee any need for any more revival packages for BSNL from here?
So BSNL has done a stellar performance, and my congratulations to the management team at BSNL and every single employee at BSNL, 55,000 of them. It's been an arduous task, and it's been an amazing turnaround. I must, on this occasion, also thank Prime Minister Narendra Modi for his belief in BSNL and providing those relief packages for BSNL, without which we would have not seen this day. And let me on record with you put in place the fact that BSNL in the October to December quarter of last year, fiscal 24-25, has turned a net profit, not an operating profit, but a net profit for the first time in 18 years.
262 crore.
Yeah. So the last time that BSNL turned in a net profit on a quarterly basis was in 2007, which means 18 years, which means 72 quarters. After 72 quarters, we posted net profit. On an operating basis, we have been posting a net profit for the last 3.5 years. It is my firm belief that as we roll out 4G on an Atmanirbhar solution, which is only the fifth in the world, there are only other 4 countries that have produced 4G technology. And thanks to the Prime Minister's vision and his commitment today, India has produced 4G technology. We are rolling out 100,000 towers. As on date, 90,000 towers have been installed, about 74,000 towers odd have been commissioned. It is my fervent hope that by July or so, we will roll out the balance towers. We then have to stabilize the network between the core and the RAN and the connectivity. And also then, as a next step, ensure QoS, quality of service, and therefore the number of call drops, the number of the amount of latency, the number of interruptions. And once that is stabilized, then I intend to move the 4G network, convert that into a 5G network. And for that, you'll have to put in additional equipment, maybe another BTS and some media and software, and graduate BSNL from 4G then on to 5G. The next step would be then to also strengthen this network, because we will need more than 100,000 towers. So that's the path forward, but I think it's important to keep BSNL customer centric. We are also putting in place a number of softwares so that we can connect with the consumer, and customer service is paramount to us.
By when can customers hope to have BSNL 5G service?
I think for now, I'm not a minister who overcommits and underdelivers. I prefer to undercommit and overdeliver. So my concentration right now is to make sure that 4G is completed for these 100,000 towers in stage 1. I stabilize it, I improve QoS, and once that is done, then we will look at 5G.
So one quick question on telecom before I move to India Post. Given the recent government decision to convert VIL's outstanding spectrum dues 37,000 crore into equity and raising of government stake to 49%. How do you assess the impact of this conversion on VIL's health and future competitiveness? Because some analysts have expressed concern saying that VIL may still struggle to meet future payment obligations, and that any further raising of equity by government could potentially turn it into a PSU.
So I think that question should be directed at Vodafone and not at me,
Okay.
because I mean it's now their job to ensure that they perform. Government has today has 49% of the company. Uh, there is no intention for the government to make that into a PSU, so we will stick to 49%.
And do you think the market will remain truly competitive 3, 4, 5 years down the line, continue to have three private players?
Well, let me
Plus one.
well let me say this, that India today is probably the most competitive market for telecom in the world. Now, why do I say that? Multiple reasons. There are very few markets in the world that have 1.2 billion customers. We're the second largest telecom market in the world. There are very few markets in the world that have four players in a market competing against each other. India has that. There are very few markets in the world that are as fiercely competitive. Today, voice costs you 0.03 paise. Data, which used to cost 1 GB of data 287 rupees, today costs 9 rupees, which is 11 cents. The average cost of data worldwide is $2.49. So we have 5% of the cost of the global cost, right? And yet you have telcos with high ARPUs and healthy bottom lines. So you've got probably, I don't want to say a Pareto optimal environment, but you have a healthy environment for telecom, and I believe that that will continue in India.
You're happy with the quality of service at the moment?
I don't think as a customer one can ever be happy with the quality of service. I think you need to always improve. TRAI has 3 months ago, on our request, put in place a framework of measuring costs. Many changes have been put in place in comparison to international norms, where costs used to be measured on a quarterly basis. It's now going to be measured on a monthly basis. Every telco has to put up their geographical spread of 4G and 5G on their websites, location-wise. Quality of service is now going to be measured, which used to be measured on a tower area, is now being measured on a cell area. Those norms in terms of Six Sigma, based on 98% percentile or 99 percentile, are slowly being tightened over the next year and a half. So all of those norms are now coming in place, and that's something that we pursued almost about 6 months ago. But there has to be a gradation and a graduation for that, as companies will then start adopting these norms.
So, and one question on India Post Payments Bank and one on Northeast. I'll just make it very quick.
Yeah. So on India Post Payments Bank, let me just say that it has been a hugely successful enterprise. We have close to about 165,000 points of presence through IBPP. Generally, post payments banks are analogous or subsidiaries of corporations that have other streams of business. So, for example, a telco will have a post payments bank where all its customers will use that post payments bank. Here we have a standalone post payments bank, which had been forecasted to become profitable in year 7. We are in year 4 or year 5, and we're already profitable. They've posted a revenue of close to about 2,000 crores odd last fiscal, on basis of which they've got roughly about a 6% margin, which is extremely healthy. They've got a positive net worth, which is also very robust. And therefore, it's been if I may say so, it's been, thanks to the leadership of Indian Post Payments Bank and our employees, it's been a runaway success.
They're looking for a license for small finance bank, and as also, a listing, possible listing that will require government stake dilution.
So
Are they on? Are they
we
a
are
path of
fully
them?
behind India Post Payments Bank, and we want to see it grow, diversify, and serve our customers.
So my final question on Northeast, given the recent remarks of Mohammad Yunus in China about India's Northeast being landlocked and Bangladesh being the so-called guardian of the ocean for the region, how do you, as a minister, assess the strategic implications of these comments on India's
I
sovereignty and
see.
security in the
think
region?
that it's very important to keep in mind the history of the Northeast. The Northeast, and I do not want to get into a diatribe of responding to X, Y, or Z. I think it's important to understand the Northeast has been a very fundamental part of economies and trade for the whole of Southeast Asia. And it is actually through the Northeast that goods and services used to travel all the way up to Europe. I believe that the Northeast has, under Prime Minister's leadership, the concept of what used to be the last state has become today the first state, and the concept of Purvodaya or Ashtalakshmi, as our 8 states are enshrined with all of that natural and human resource. I believe that today, as they grow, and their growth rates are in excess of 300 basis points of the national average. Each one of our 8 states are growing at between 11 to 12%. They present a tremendous opportunity for a launch pad for all of the global south. And that has been the Prime Minister's vision, which is what we're actualizing on by the tremendous amount of investment into infrastructure, be it railways, highways, airports, waterways across the board. 10% of GBS, which is close to 1 lakh crore, going into the Northeast every single year. And so that part of India is today undergoing a transformation. Just today, we've started a visit of 100 students from each state of the Northeast, 800 students, to ISRO's facility in Bengaluru. And therefore, they will get a vignette of space and carry that back with them. This was one of the mandates that the Home Minister Amit Shahji gave us during our NEC plenary, that we must provide that vista, and that's being flagged off today. So I think the capability of the Northeast today is paramount, and we need to be able to actualize and make sure that we give them that launch pad, if you will, to be able to contribute to the nation's progress.